You're listening to the Everyday Legends podcast, the show that is dedicated to helping everyday men build legendary relationships with yourself, your partner, and your world. I'm your host, Mike Campbell, and the aim of this podcast is simple: to help you navigate life with more clarity, more confidence, and purpose-driven action, with plenty of stories, a load of lessons, and some loving straight talk. So let's get started. Nice. Welcome to the show, brother.
Hey, bro. Thanks for having me on.
Mate, and of course we're here on the Everyday Legends podcast, and I've kind of invited you straight into that, so no pressure on that tag. But look, bro, some of my audience will definitely know who you are, some of them will definitely not. And so where I'd like to start is a simple introduction, and that is, you can go anywhere with this question, and that question is, who is Isaac John?
As I stand here right now, 31 years old, originally from New Zealand, from a small town called Tokoro. Run multiple businesses right now, some better than others, but mainly known for running a clothing brand called YKTR, and sort of built a personal brand off documenting the journey, firstly through vlogging, moved into podcasting, and now sort of do like online courses and sort of stuff along those types of lines as well, and building a few other things on the side. So wannabe entrepreneur pretty much sums me up.
Wannabe entrepreneur, right? So you don't consider yourself to be one right now?
Probably one area of my business. One of my businesses I definitely am. I'm sort of talking about the difference between a business owner and being self-employed, and understanding the difference. I don't think people realize that. So definitely, maybe 1.5 businesses. I'd consider myself an entrepreneur. The other one's self-employed or ambitious to be entrepreneur.
Beautiful. I like that. It's actually something that's been playing through my own head of late as well. So that hits me. Maybe we need to have another conversation about that. Okay. So then can you now kind of expand on that? Like, okay, so you from Tokoroa, but how did you get to this spot right here? Wannabe entrepreneur, kind of not.
Yeah, sort of the shorter version of it. Always had ambitions to play rugby league. I saw when I grew up in Tokoroa, if you don't know where the place is, it's a town built around forestry, and cliche as cliche comes, like there's a big Tukwalain community there. My dad works in the mill, which like everyone else's dad works in the mill there. Just had this very, very cliche upbringing. And I always knew, like, my dad was a shift worker. He worked 12-hour shifts. I've never heard him get excited talking about his job. He was always excited talking about rugby league, or he was always excited talking about fishing. But I just knew I didn't want to stay in that town. And I'm grateful for where I come up, how I've been brought up and where I grew up. But I also knew that I didn't want to stay there as well. So when you're growing up, your brain can only process what your eyes can see. So for me, it was work in the mill, go to university, which what all my teachers were telling me to do, which my mum was telling me to do, or play football, which I was okay at. So I just went all in on football because I saw that as my way out. I was a pretty good student. I'm half Islander, so half Islander, half white. So my mum sort of pushed me towards education to the point where, because I love playing football so much, she almost blackmailed me with that. So she goes, if you don't pass your classes, you can't play football. So I had that sort of healthy balance, and school kind of came naturally to me, but I just took it. I was just doing enough just to get past. Like I was in smart classes, but I was just doing enough to get past. And
I recognize that.
Moved into football, learned a lot of lessons, playing first grade football. Had a very injury-riddled career. Tore my ACL, snapped my pec, snapped my Achilles, and I was sort of in that sort of scene for about 8 to 10 years. Through injury, started picking up books. Had a guy named Michael Luck introduce me to my first book, gave me my first bit of perspective in life.
So this is when you're playing as an adult professionally?
Yeah, but I would have been about 21. I've read a book before, obviously, but...
but in terms of going through playing, got the injuries, starting to pick up books and look maybe elsewhere a little.
Yeah, and that sort of gave me my first perspective on life and sort of made me realise football wasn't the be-all, end-all. I tore my ACL and I thought that was the worst thing in the world, and I thought everyone should feel sorry for me. Going to read a book, It's Not About the Bike by Lance Armstrong, just before he got caught cheating and doping and stuff like that. But he went through like cancer, and that was my first bit of perspective in life where I was like, it isn't that bad. So continuing to read and sort of got to a certain point.
Did that help you shift that everyone should
Yeah.
be sorry for me kind of thing?
No, you're still 21. You know what I mean? Like you still think the world's because everything started to go right and it just got all taken away from me.
Right,
Then
right. So it should still be going right here. Things should still
yeah,
come my way. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and like just couldn't really see that. But when I look back now, injury is probably the best things that ever happened to me. Not only did it give me perspective on life, it pushed me towards reading. It gave me a lot of time outside of football when I was still getting paid. So it allowed me time to do and pursue other passions. And at the time, it was just kind of reading and moved into sort of taking photos, and then kind of just graduated into business. Not naturally, but it's just one of those things I had a passion for and felt like that was pulling me towards that way. So I just sort of followed it.
Very nice. So football ended. Was that a choice, or was it or maybe the body's telling me?
No, probably choice. The last injury I had, I snapped my pec, and I was having a rough year with injuries. And in my mind, I was saying that I'm over football, I want to do something else. I'm over football, I want to do something else. And it's probably life's way of showing me that it's pushing me towards that direction. And I remember snapping my pec, and I was sitting in the changing room on my own. I was like, fuck, I'm over football. I just want to do something else. And it was the first time I said it out loud. And it was like this weight just sort of dropped off me. It sort of felt like I was like 50 kgs, and I just felt light. And I was like, oh shit, I haven't felt like this in a while. And then I sort of got excited. So it was by choice. I had to play reserve grade for the next year just to get money, because essentially that was my skill set, and I had no other skill sets in life.
You'd got all on it, as you said, right?
And so I was playing part-time football and getting paid like $1,000 a week. So I was pretty pumped with that. But and that's when I sort of launched YKTR as well with a couple of friends. So
yes. So you dropped that in there. So can you explain a little bit more on that for us? So you launched a clothing company?
Yeah, I tried to launch multiple businesses at once. One was a social media platform. Another one was drop shipping, very cliche. People trying to get into side hustles. You go into those types of scenarios. And YKTR was just a brand I started with a couple of my friends. And it started as just a bit of fun. Like we used to say, you know the rules around the house. And then we kind of put these on these AS Color t-shirts down in Parramatta. And we kind of really loved going out at the time. So we used to just wear our own clothes out. People wanted to wear them, and sort of sold like 5, then sold 10, then sold 20, then 50. And then by the time I'd finished football, I told the boys, I was like, fuck, I want to have a proper crack at this, and put our first collection together. And we all invested $5K in each. And then that was sort of the start of it.
Very nice. The start of now this entrepreneurial journey for you. So one of the things I want to explore in there is, I've had some of these kind of conversations before with footballers or former footballers, but is that, you know, as you said, from school, you went, well, I'll do the schooling, mum, yeah, but I'm going all in on football, right? So for you, through that time and then actually being a footballer, and that's your profession, as you said, it's my skill set right now. Do you think that there was an identity shift when you went from those two big stages basically in your life, being a footballer to whatever came next?
No, not so much. Like I know a lot of people struggle with it, but the one thing was whenever I played football, I never identified myself as purely just a footballer. I always felt like I had a bit more about me, and even like when we would go out, like people ask what we do for a job, and probably an easy way to get girls is saying like I play football. But I was always mindful that I'd never say that type of stuff, because I felt like I just don't want to be pigeonholed into a certain demographic. Oh, you're a womanizer, you're a gambler. There's this negative connotation that hangs around in around football, especially here in Sydney. And to be fair, like I did do those, like partake in those types of behaviors. Like I'd go out every week. When I was single, I'd chase girls every week. I'd fucking be gambling, and I was that. But I also felt like I identified as something else. Monday to Friday, like I spent my nights reading. I was watching like documentaries. I could have diverse conversations with people outside of football. So, and the other part of it was like I was never like this big time player. I was kind of always this average player. So average player and here's normal life, and you transition back to normal life. It wasn't that big of a transition. It still was. The biggest thing I struggled with was not having structure early on. And we talked off air about systems and sort of stuff like that. I thought I wanted that freedom to do whatever I want, because from the age of 5 to 27, I've told like what class to be in, what uniform to wear, what to study, how to think. Then once you go to professional football, it's exactly the same. Like Monday, you're doing this, you're wearing that. And once you get into a game, you're told how to play, where to kick. Like you're just told what to say and what not to say, what to eat. So I craved that sort of freedom, and I thought that's what entrepreneurship was. I thought entrepreneurship was freedom, but I didn't realize once I got in it, it wasn't. And it took me about 6 months to realize, like, oh shit, I actually crave this structure again. And then I actually had to implement my own sort of system in place. So Monday I'm doing this, and then even up to sort of 2-3 weeks ago, I've stripped it all the way back on, because I do multiple things now. Like for example, like yesterday's focused purely on YKTR, the clothing side of it. Mondays and Fridays, purely YKTR. If you're hitting me up about anything else, you can't get in touch with me. I don't want to talk to you. I don't care. And my staff and that know that now. So Monday, Fridays, that Tuesday allows me the time to do podcasts. So from 9 till 12, I'll create 2 of my own podcasts and stuff like that. So very, very structured. And what I found, the best thing about it is, like 9 o'clock, I can go to sleep. Like, I'm not sitting in bed going through my day and thinking like, I feel like I've been busy. Like I was at work for 10 hours. Well, what did I actually do? So it's a continuation of something that's continuing to evolve. But at the core essence of it, I didn't struggle with identity because I was always comfortable with who I am. I've always been sort of self-aware. I did feel like I wanted to crave freedom, but I actually realized that I wanted structure. And just building better systems and continue to adapt on those as you start to grow have always been important. And like I said, you just sort of earning that, you're just chasing that good night's sleep at night and being excited to get up in the morning. That's the combo that you want. Beautiful.
So would you say then, now that you've reintroduced essentially this structure, you feel like there is a little bit more freedom within yourself?
Yeah. So the reason I'm trying to create these systems is so I can do things that I actually want to do. So take Wednesday, like I'll take half a Wednesday off because like I've gone hard for these 2.5 days, and Wednesday afternoon I'll take off and I dedicate that time towards self-education, or picked up the habit. I've picked up, like I enjoy painting at the moment, not very good at it, but it's one of the things in life where like when I sit there and paint, like I don't really think about anything else. Kind of like when you exercise and you get into that certain point of flow and you get your second wind and you just get into this nice little flow. You don't really think about too much. And that's sort of what painting's been for me lately. But I'm just trying to build these systems so I can just go, fuck, I can do these things that I actually want to do. And the thing I struggled with early on is like I was scared of being outworked. So once I got to a certain phase, I sold my TV. I'd work, so I'd try and get up 6 o'clock, go straight to work. Work all the way till it's like 7, 8, come home, read a book, do a self-development course, go to bed at 11, 12, 1, wake up at 6. And I had this like fear of being at work, but I sort of just found myself like grinding down. And I found myself like even like putting on weight. And I was like, how the fuck am I putting on weight? Because I'm eating like once a day. Like I don't want to. And you sort of learn about things about stress and sort of stuff like that. And it sort of got to a certain point where I was like, when I was looking back on my day, I was like, how much have I actually done? Like, am I just trying to look busy for the sake of Instagram, or am I actually getting shit done? So
what do you think that fear of being outworked was about? Like being outworked by who?
No, fear of, I don't know. It's fear of being outworked from people in my industry, because you sort of come from a sporting background where it's a zero-sum game. So you got to think for one person to win, there has to be a loser. Well, what you realize in business, it's not really like that. For YKTR, so for it to be a success, you don't. That other brand over there doesn't have to lose. That they can well. And that was sort of the one thing I learned from. So you're coming from a sports background, you think, fuck, I have to win, and this is how you win. You just have to outwork everyone.
Yeah, someone else got to lose.
Yeah, and that was sort of an important shift on that.
Yeah, it seems like a pretty solid shift, right? Especially if you're thrashing yourself all day, as you said, putting on weight, stress, things are building up.
And then you get that little endorphin hit of people going, fuck, you work hard. Like I appreciate the grind. I can see the grind.
But did the amount of work that you're putting in and any of those comments that came up, did that match what the progress or momentum that you felt you were actually getting?
Yeah, I feel like it did at the time. And like I wouldn't change how I'd done that period, because it sort of taught me how to like go through that period and learn from it.
Yeah, absolutely.
The way I sort of talk about it is like in rugby league, you have like a 16-week preseason. So it's kind of like trying to skip that preseason and doing all that hard work and going through all that sort of grind and then rolling up to round 1 and expecting to perform. Like I had to go through that sort of period and those tough periods to understand like, oh, it's probably a smarter way of doing this.
You had the Entrepreneurial Preseason.
Yeah, pretty much. That's a great way to put it. And
beautiful.
And then I start to look at people now, and I've put up a couple of tweets today. As I was walking my dog this morning, I was thinking like, in Naval Ravikant and someone I always go back to, very smart guy, but working smarter should be the goal. If you're a really good business person, if you can double your output with half the workload, why isn't that praise? Why is it always pushed towards hustle and grind? Doing that, like we put that sort of word busy on the pedestal. Like, bro, how you been? Yeah, I've been busy. Like, I remember hearing myself say that like 5-6 times. Like, that's not cool. Like, being busy ain't cool. Like being like having a calm mind and a successful business and a happy life, like that should be where we push towards to. And like I said, like I'll go talk to someone, what would have been up to? And even if they haven't been, they'll just say busy because it's like a social cool thing to say. So being careful how I speak and reply to people at the moment. You asked me before, like, how you been? I said, I've been happy. Like I'm doing good. And which is true, but normally before I would have just said, bro, I'm being busy because it justifies me to you. It's a dick measuring contest, isn't it? Right?
And it also sounds like you probably were busy, right? Because at one point you were thrashing yourself.
Yeah.
In a smarter way. Because also that doesn't sound like freedom, right? Like without that structure, there was one motor, which was just do all the things, as you said, don't be outworked. Do you think some of that as well, that zero-sum game you spoke about, but that drive, I suppose, to not be outworked, and you said kind of new into the industry a little bit, was there a desire or perhaps a little bit of a driver there to try and prove that, to people, maybe now I'm stepping into this, I'm not just a footballer, now I can do this thing here? Was there anything like that?
Yeah, of course, but there's also the element of fear, the fear of like working for someone else. Like, that was like my ultimate fear.
Yeah,
like,
okay.
Even like when I was playing football and people put this up on a pedestal, like this is the dream job and you should be grateful and you're getting paid good money to do this. Like I still didn't like going to a training on Monday. Like it still felt like a job to me because that was just my life. So I knew that I just didn't want to walk into a job and be susceptible to someone else's success or failure or building someone else's dreams. I was pretty confident in that, where I didn't want to go down that route. And if I failed, like I would have been happy to fail and die on your own sword, which is the saying. And that was like sort of the big driving factor to prove.
So do you think that's about proving to you then? Or maybe, Isaac was back in Tokoroa going, I don't want to work in the mill and do what everyone else does?
I always think that because like even when I moved into football and when I started playing well, like people didn't expect me to play well. They're like, oh, it's proving people wrong a motivation for you? I was like, nah, proving myself right is my motivation. And if proving people wrong is a byproduct of that, then I'm happy with that. And there's a big difference in that. So if I'm trying to prove that guy wrong, it's kind of out of anger, out of spite. Like, and some people get off on that. Like if you watch the Michael Jordan documentary, like he flies off shit like that.
Next level.
Yeah, but for me, I feel like that's wasted energy. Like I just want to prove myself right. And then if you want to come along for the journey and say like I was wrong, that's cool. If you don't, like it doesn't bother me. Like you're actually putting your success or feelings in the expectations of someone else's hands. And I feel like you always get in trouble when you do that. Once you focus on your guy within and you just focus on yourself being happy and what makes you happy as success, you just do that. You just find a sort of community follows you. And as a byproduct, you prove people wrong.
Very nice. And look, that is something that I most definitely see in you. I see this dude who, you live life by your own rules. There's this willingness to, I think, kind of like say, fuck what others think, I'm going to do me. Yeah. And, but there's also respect and consideration for others, so this kind of determination, I think that you have, or that I see anyway, to set and live your own path. Where do you think that comes from?
I don't know, like if I strip it right back, like I remember my dad always having like side hustles. Like he started like a rugby league competition because like me and my brother didn't have the competition to play in. Like he started a whole new, so I remember him coming home at night and like sitting down and having like a notepad and pen and writing shit. And like he was always my coach and stuff growing up. So the element of hard work, even though I wasn't a hard worker as a kid, I saw that in front of me. It was explained in front of me. Probably the influence of Gary Vee as well. He was a big part of how I done business early on and how I still continue to do business to this day. And just sort of watching this, I used to wake up, like my routine was wake up and watch a Gary Vee vlog, and that used to get me motivated. And he was working like 16 and 18-hour days, and that's probably why I was trying to do that as well. Just all that sort of combination of that type of stuff. But at the I sort of spoke about it today on a tweet. It was fun for me. Like it's hard to beat someone at something that they think it's fun. And because if you see that as work and they just see that as fun, they're not going to stop once 5 o'clock comes.
Yeah.
It's not, oh shit, let me go home now. It's just like, oh, this is still fun. Like I still want to do it. So it's a combination of probably those three things. Probably seeing your dad work his ass off, probably seeing an influence like Gary Vee talking about the industry that you wanted to be in, and then the element of fun as well. So I'll put it in those three categories, I reckon.
And so do you think that that is consistent when it comes to, the determination and the willingness and like, this is shit I love, but also the willingness to just do your own path? Like, don't be so influenced by what other people are doing and saying. Yeah, clearly there was a little bit of that drive in the start, as you see with that zero-sum game, but you know the rules. You're living by your rules, right? So does that come under the same umbrella for you?
Sorry, can you reframe that question?
Sure. So there's obviously this determination that you've picked from a few places,
Yeah.
right? But in that, I see, and it might be the same thing for you, but there's also this willingness to just set your own path and not be so influenced by others, apart from people you choose, like Gary Vee.
Yeah.
You're just going to do what's right for you.
Yeah, it sounds kind of corny as fuck, but like that sort of gut feeling, like a lot of things in my life where I feel like I've had this gut feeling and I get excited and like I feel like I need to pee. I feel like that's my gut feeling pulling me towards something. And it was like ATR and starting a business, like I used to get excited talking about that. So I was like, oh shit, let me go do it. And then people doubting you. That's even a better, that's even another indicator for you to go down that path. Started vlogging, which is an important part of our journey. People started bagging us. Cool. I've seen this. It was almost pattern recognition. It's like, oh, I've seen this before. I'm getting excited about this. Right. People started to bag me. Let me go that way. Podcasting was another one. YKTR Sports was another one. So in essence, a lot of it's kind of like intuition and gut feeling and something pulling to me towards these ways. And do I actually get excited about doing it? Was probably a good way to start a business. and it's probably a philosophy that the businesses I go into now, because I get opportunities to jump in other people's businesses and get equity. Like if I don't get excited about it, if the product doesn't excite me, if the founder doesn't excite me in any way, shape or form, I don't really get into it. And the part I'm getting into now is like starting to bring along people with me as well, where can give people opportunities or jobs and take them out of the positions that they were in and have them come thank me for stuff like that. That's a pretty cool feeling as well, bro. So I feel like this is starting to go a little bit bigger than myself. And I talked about this on a podcast the other day, like our mission statement for YKTR early on was like inspire change through clothing. So I used to use clothes as a vehicle to do the things that I wanted to do. The reason I started the business, and this is how I built a business model around it. Like I wanted to create content, which I thought I was good at. I wanted to hang out with my two best mates. I wanted to travel, and I wanted to be in business. So YKTR sort of covered all those things. And then, so I wanted to use clothes as a vehicle to do those things. And then our business philosophy changed, like inspire change through clothing. I wanted to use clothes and YKTR as a vehicle to teach other people how to do that as well. And then that's the evolution of that sort of saying. I sort of come up with it in like 10 minutes, but it just sort of evolved from that as well. Like one of the greatest moments I've had as a business owner for YKTR, someone got a YKTR hoodie and she put it on, like started crying, like, oh, I've wanted this for ages. And like for me, like I just see it like a piece of fabric that I've designed like 6 months ago. But then I also understand like the effort that's gone behind the content and the feeling, and the reason we try to humanize that brand is for that exact feeling there. And like, we've had many great days. Like we've turned into a 7-figure business. We've got fucking cool offices, like hang around fucking cool people. We get cool people wearing our shit. But that's the moment that really sticks out for me. Stuff like that. Stuff like newborn babies coming through, and the dad's got a YKTR shirt on, holding a baby like that. Like I'm trying to build a nostalgic brand. And to build a nostalgic brand, you have to think 20 years from now. So when that kid's 20 and like, oh, this is the photo of when you were born. And he's got this big fucking YKTR across his chest. And he goes, oh, purposely worn this. So like the first thing he sees is YKTR. Like that sort of stuff really starts to matter for me. So it's fucking a lot of things, bro. And it's fun to be a part of, man. Yeah,
it sounds like you're very clearly tapped into, I think, who you are and what you want and what you're creating and why you're creating it.
You know what? It's the easiest way to be. Like you don't have to like sort of fake anything. Like a big topic here is I go out, love to get blind, love to drink and stuff. I swear a lot. And people like, oh, my kid looks up to you. You shouldn't be drinking. You shouldn't be swearing. I was like, well, why can't you be a success and enjoy your weekends as well? And the reason why I'd done that early on, because I felt trapped in football, because I used to go out all the time, but we used to sort of hide it. And then you go, oh, what, the way you're drinking, you shouldn't be drinking, like nudge, nudge, like shit like that. So I knew once I left football, even though I didn't feel like I wanted structure, I needed certain structure, but I also wanted to be myself. I was sick of how to play, how to speak, what to wear.
And live, basically, right?
Exactly. And I just wanted to be myself, and freeing up my week and getting blind was a part of that, and a big part of that. So yeah, I thought it was important.
So then, you've kind of touched on, and you kind of said that word pedestal a couple of times here, where there was clearly an element of that as a footballer, but now there's this different element. And, you mentioned Gary Vee a couple of times, and, you've kind of got this tag now, the Kiwi Gary Vee. And I think what I see, and I know you're very aware of it, you have a profile now, right? You've become, I think, a leader in a very different sense to many, and it certainly seems like a lot of kids and younger guys look up to you. So there is this kind of role model element. How do you see this role for yourself now?
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, I don't take it lightly. I understand the influence that I can have. I understand the influence I can have in certain businesses. Like, for example, like card businesses, when sports cards started to pop off, I was driving traffic towards all these channels, and like I was growing up these channels and like tripling their revenue in a week and in a day, like stuff like that. And them coming back and thanking me for that. To the fucking complete opposite side, I've had people come through saying they've contemplated suicide, and this podcast has helped me. My podcast has helped me get me through. So there's an element of pressure on sort of both sides, but it's something that I really enjoy. And the thing is, like I said, it goes back to self-awareness. Like, I'm not trying to be anything that I'm not to anyone else in forms of content, in forms of audio and stuff like that. I just be myself, and I think that's the thing that attracts people towards me. Like people like, oh, you're so humble and stuff like that. I don't think I'm humble as well. Like, I think I'm like quite confident and quite forward going and stuff like that. But because I speak on my vulnerabilities and where I fucked up in life, they see that as a humble trait, stuff like that. So yeah, it's like, I understand it, but it's like, I'm not going out trying to be a role model. I'm not going out trying to be a motivational speaker or fucking shit like that. I'm just going out every day just trying to be the best version of myself. And if you're inspired by that, that's cool. Come along for the ride.
So then what about when it plays out like that, when you said, you might be out with your mates having a few drinks, and someone, they've decided to put you on a pedestal and basically say, hey, here's my expectations of how you need to be?
No, but it doesn't really happen because I've already painted the picture for them. Like, they've already seen me out getting blind. And I do get a lot of people come up, oh, bro, thank you so much for your content. I was like, hey, bro. And like, I'll give them time. Because when I was on football, it was considered not cool to talk to fans. Oh, look at him. He's like he loves the attention and he loves the fans. Like,
right.
Why is that not cool for someone to come up to you and go, fuck, thank you, bro. You've inspired me. Or like, why is that not cool? And it's different with sports because you get the other side of it as well. You get the big, massive haters, and you might get someone from another team supporting base going like, fuck you. And it sort of puts you off the demographic, and we kind of bundle all these people up together. But I sort of embrace that sort of role now. People come up to me, and do you know what's hard as a Kiwi? It's hard to take like compliments because we're taught to be humble. And like when someone used to give me a compliment when I was younger, I was like, nah, bro, that's you. No, that's you. Like, stay humble and like all that sort of stuff.
Don't be too big for your boots, right?
Yeah, pretty much. And my mum used to go like, oh, you're carrying on too much. You're too confident. And all I say now, all I say is just, bro, thank you so much. And all I say is thank you. That comment means the world to me, which it does. And that's sort of my fallback. That's sort of my autopilot. Makes that person feel good. And like, because it's weird when you try and give someone a compliment, but they won't take it, but you actually mean it. You're like, just fucking take the compliment.
They're trying to give you something and you reject it back, right? So if you remove the word compliment, if I try and give you a gift and you reject it back at me, it's kind of like, what? But now I don't get to give you this thing.
Yeah, it's kind of rude. So learning how to take a compliment has been important. And
so was that something that became a conscious thing, specifically around compliments, right? Because for me, I feel like compliments speak so much to how we feel about ourselves, right? And, if I can't take a compliment from someone, what does that say? Do I think I don't deserve it? I'm not worthy of it? So for you, there was this upbringing of, sit down, don't get too big for yourself. And that was the autopilot. And then there was a shift, like you said, to I really appreciate this and thank you.
Mm.
Was that a conscious decision? Was it something you kind of had a conversation with yourself about?
No, I was sort of like watching Gary Vee, and like I said, I'm sort of mirrored my behaviors of what everything he was doing, and that was probably the biggest one that I learned from him, is like how to actually take a compliment, because no one really teaches you that. This is how you do it. So if you took that as in front of like the boys when you're a little bit younger, they're like, "Oh, look at him! Like he loves the attention. He wants the spotlight." That sort of stigma around it. But like when I just kept hearing him say it, and people come up to him, and the types of conversations he was having in those vlogs back in the day, I get those now, where like transforming businesses, like without even knowing, and people coming up to you and stuff like that, transforming businesses and knowing, and people seeing the inbox, I can never do anything to thank you for this, and all I said is, "But thank you, man, that comment means the world to me," and it actually does. But it's just learned behavior of people that you admire. Like if you admire someone, copy their behavior, and you'll probably pick up their habits, and then you probably pick up their patterns, and then hopefully pick up the same success that they have.
And, by watching you, make it your own, i.e. give it exactly the Isaac John flavor, which is, the authenticity, which people are clearly seeing, right?
And that's the important part. So like I get guys, and like, even though like I've got a fucking big frame of Gary Vee in my office, like just sitting right there, and even though I do mirror his behaviors and his patterns and stuff like that, like it's got my own little twist on it, where I get people like following me and like copy me, and say I'll put a podcast about say like talking about economies of scale, like a business thing. Like next day they'll have the exact same thing, but I know they haven't built the business to talk about economies of scale, because I know they don't have the numbers where they can actually get a cheaper rate or stuff like that. And I get people messaging me going like, and it's like, you got to find your own way of doing it. Like the business principles are always going to be the same, but you can talk about your own experiences. If I was talking about the New York Jets and very Gary Vee like and stuff like that, you'd know it was fake. But
or if your dream was like all of a sudden to own the Warriors or something, right? It was just very, very close.
It's pretty, like if all of those lines, it would be very similar. But like a lot of the stuff I have done is very built off his principles, but I feel like my strength is in storytelling and communication, and transferring it back to circumstances that are relatable to sort of people like me. I was thinking about the other day, like I make content for like the 15 or the 20-year-old me that I wish I had. I think about that now.
Same.
Because I'm like, I didn't have someone talking about business to me. I didn't have someone talking about money. I thought money was this thing that only rich people could have, and certain demographic could have, and even understanding the fact that you shouldn't talk bad about money, because then money won't come hang out with you. It's like people. And just small stuff like that. So I want to be that guy for the person I was 15 years ago.
Yeah, beautiful. So then what I'm hearing is, there's certain things that you didn't hear or see or learn when you were growing up back home, but clearly there was, right? Because you've become who you are. So what do you think are some of the biggest lessons that you had from your upbringing back home in Tokoro?
I think being a youngest child, like being that definitely helps. I probably like the black sheep of my family. Like my brother, very different to me, very quiet, and because he was the older brother, I was the kid that always had to go and ask, like go ask mum if we can have like ice cream. You go up and get fucking told no, and then like you get used to hearing no. Growing up, I had parents that would tell me no. I was like, hey mum, can I have that? I'm like, no, like if you want that, you're gonna have to work for it. So I didn't get everything that I like wanted straight away. Hey mum, can I have a lift to town? No, fucking go walk. Like, what are your feet broken? So I was sort of hearing no when I was like a little bit younger. Just what was the original question? Sorry.
What were some of the lessons that you think you picked up from your upbringing back home? Because by really simple optics, you are living a very different existence to what you kind of portrayed that was the option for you as a kid.
Yeah. Oh, here's a big one that sort of transferred into business. Like growing up in a small town, my mum used to always say, good news travels fast, bad news travels faster. You think about social media right now, social media's made planet Earth a fucking country town. So if you want to do anything unethical within business or as a person, like always fall back on that. Good news travels fast, bad news travels even faster. So if you're going to fuck someone over for a bit of money, that's just going to get around. So one of our biggest strengths, I feel like, is we've always been transparent as a business, and we've made plenty of mistakes. But as soon as we make a mistake, I front the camera straight away. I'm like, this is what happened, ABC. And it's funny, it kind of ends up in one of our bigger weeks in terms of, it's one of the better marketing strategies, like honesty and transparency and stuff like that. So Sort of learned that as well. So that was
Yes.
a big one.
So
Imagination, bro.
that speaks to the humility that I think that you're talking about as well. Like humility can be just absolutely don't be too big for your boots, underplay everything. And it can also be, hey, I'm just going to own my shit.
Yeah, and it's funny. Like I sort of picked that up from like my friend Corey. Like I used to watch him go like chase girls and get brushed and come back and start laughing. And he's like she just brushed me. Like where a lot of guys, that's their biggest fear. They don't even try to talk to a girl from the fear of being brushed. And I remember always seeing that. I was like, fuck, that's quite an admirable trait to have. Like even though he's just trying to get girls and stuff like that, it's just sort of almost like, oh, fuck it. Like where's the next one?
Yeah, it didn't shift how he felt about himself. He could just be okay with it.
Nah, and then he'll come back and make a joke about himself.
Yeah.
Oh, look, she just brushed me. He goes, I went up to her, showed her up, and she goes, and I just thought that was funny. Probably another thing, small towns, is probably imagination. Where, like you can't drive to a mall and go hang out in the mall all day. We don't have a mall. We didn't even have a traffic light in our hometown. So, like, had to go down to the school and kill 2 hours with two of your mates. Like you figure out things to do, and
so spark the creativity a bit.
Yeah, fucking grab a stick and turn it into a sword, and then that's how you walk, like shit like that.
Getting old school now.
Yeah. So shit like that. So small town. The world's a small place right now because of social media.
Yeah.
Imagination is important, and parents told me no. So it's a little.
And it does feel like you've learnt this. I think I would say a more accurate version of humility, as we said, willing to front up, be transparent and honest, and have ownership. Take responsibility for, as you said, look, this didn't work out, or we made a mistake, and we want to front it. I think that's something that people are always going to connect with on some level, even if they, who knows what the example is, but someone perhaps got slighted or they got fucked over in some way. If you're stepping up and saying, look, we made a mistake and we'll try better next time, that's human. That's humility, right?
Yeah, 100%. And I just thought of it just now, and I was like, I'm not trying to be super witty or anything, but I was just thinking, like, your day in your life always starts and ends on the pillow, doesn't it? So when you go to sleep, like, can you fall? Like, if you can't fall asleep, obviously there's subconsciously there's something on your mind, and the other part of it is like, are you excited to get up? So like your day starts and ends on your pillow. Like, can you actually go to sleep? Like, have you done everything that you've done in the right way? Are you fucking human? If you can fall asleep pretty well. The other part is that fucking you excited to get off that fucking pillow and get to work. So I don't know, like it's like broad as we can talk on all these different types of subjects, it falls back onto that pillow. Like, can you go to sleep and are you excited to get up? And for me, it's sort of that simple. That's basic philosophy on how I'm living my life at the moment.
It's beautiful. And it's also like, can you sleep with yourself, which just sounds kind of confusing, but can you be at peace with yourself as you put your head on the pillow, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. 100%. Beautiful. So then, okay, I want to ask you about this because you kind of spoke a little bit there about women. And I know when I was on your podcast, it's been a year ago now, I think, we spoke something like that. We spoke about a few things, but one of the things we actually started speaking about was your relationship. And we started diving into, a few questions and figuring out a few things that perhaps your partner does, or what does all this stuff mean? Yeah. So I want to ask you, like, how's that been going?
Yeah, she actually listened back to the podcast too. A few of her friends listened to my podcast, and she goes, "Oh, have you heard the podcast?" And the questions he's been asking. So she walked through the front door and got a bit of a dip stare, and I was like, "What's wrong with you?" She goes, "I heard your podcast." But yeah, like
because what I saw in there was the desire to understand.
Yeah.
Right. And for me, that's the basics of someone that makes a good partner. How do I understand? Because then we can relate better together.
Yeah, probably not as good as I'd like to have hoped. She's still a little bit messy.
Do you think you understand a little bit behind, around communicating on that level, right? Because we spoke about, if she leaves the shit out, is it that when you get pissed off, or is it that she doesn't listen to you?
Yeah, I think it's fucking a bit of both, eh? Like walking over a pile of clothes to get to your bed isn't like too fun, and like for me, it's glaring obvious. It's like there, like surely you can clean that up. But like we talked about systems before. And
so we're creating another podcast for her to listen back to, right?
Yeah, pretty much, because she's not listening anyway. But like I remember asking her, I was like, "Oh, why?" I was like, like, why are you messy? And she goes, oh, because my parents never really told me to like clean up my room and stuff. And like, so for my room was my space. And I was like, yeah, but this whole house is like, you have to share this whole house with me. So we still sort of have these discussions. We've got the spare room. I'm trying to swap rooms over. So my clothes are in our main bedroom and hers are in that. And I go, fucking, this should be yours. And you can just fucking do whatever you want with it. And we just close the door. so this is how I'm dealing with it, bro. So,
Agreements, compromises.
yeah. But yeah, probably could work better. But everything else besides that, I feel like I've got a great relationship with her. I feel like we can openly talk about most things as well. It's just, just getting a little bit tidy is the goal, I think.
That's a metaphor for lots of things.
Yeah.
Beautiful. No, look, I just thought it'd be interesting to check in on that, right? Because it's one thing that I get, and I assure you all the time, because I know you have kids, dudes reaching out to you and asking you advice on how do I set up a business and all this kind of stuff. And you know, I'm happy always to give and, you know, support. But the challenge can be, did that guy do that thing? That they then put it into action, right? And I'm sure you would say that all the time. You're giving out advice and support for guys, and they don't necessarily do the stuff. And so I always just love to see, you know, we spoke about that stuff. Does it get put into action, right? Because that's where the rubber hits the road. Especially when it comes to someone setting up a business or a side hustle, or, you know, I'm sure the kind of questions you get. Maybe I want to leave my job. It's like, there's valuable information here. Are you going to do something with it?
Yeah, 100%. And like Gary V's philosophy is, I'll give away 99% of my stuff for free because I know most people won't use it anyway. So and then you get painted out as a sort of good guy. But yeah, like I might have to go back and listen to that podcast.
That was not my intent.
Yeah, I've half forgot what you said now.
All good. Okay. So something then, you know, everything that we're speaking about here, but also, you know, in what I see of you, to me, there's this word is very evident. And when I see how you show up in the world, and that is integrity, which for me is like, it's a bit of a kind of not so secret mission of the show, is kind of teaching and exploring integrity for me. And so what I want to ask you, and this is perhaps putting you on the spot, you don't need to provide the perfect answer here, but what does that mean to you, integrity? Like, what does that mean to you, and how does that kind of play out for you in your life, as far as you know?
Like I said, I saw that pillow analogy. I've just sort of given you back. Like life starts and ends on the pillow. And I think while I've been in business, I've never done anything shady. I had a supplier that was what I found out was overcharging us, and a lot of the costs were sort of hidden. And if I went up to him and said, well, I'm not paying that, he probably would have agreed to it. But I shook his hand and looked him in the eye and said, I'll pay you back. Very early on, and I knew he'd been fucked over in the past, so that was important to me. And even though he didn't necessarily do right by me or steer me in the right direction, I still shook his hand and looked him in the eye and said, I'll do business with you. So that was important to me. And now I'm in this sort of realm of this business world. You start to hear all these little dodgy stories of people getting fucked over. I've got a mate that just got done over for a couple of $100K, and just sort of stuff like that. You start to hear that. So I just never wanted to be that person. And like I said, it's sort of integrity goes back to coming from that small town and sort of those philosophies that your mum tells you about, like good news travels fast, bad news travels even faster. So yeah, I don't know, like I know I talk about sleep a lot, and
this is the theme.
For me, it's just about sleeping. Hey, like, can you sleep at night? You know, you excited to get up in the morning, and fuck.
I think that's good though, bro. Like, I really like it, and I don't know if it's something that's been in your consciousness before this conversation, but it's certainly coming through. And again, what I hear is the practicality of like, can you actually get to sleep, or is there too much shit going on for you? But also, can you be happy with how you're living your life?
Yeah, and sometimes like the reason I couldn't get to sleep is because like I was scared of being at work. Like it's okay. Like there was a lot of, even though as confident as I was, there's a lot of self-doubt there. Like, am I doing enough tonight? And it's sort of like life should be like, you should go out and make a bunch of mistakes, but then don't judge yourself on those mistakes, but then don't make that same mistake again.
Yeah, learn the lesson. Don't have to learn it again and again and again, because then you're not fucking learning it, right?
Yeah, then that pillow starts to feel like a rock, and then everything starts to piss you off at night and you can't go to sleep.
Yeah, or maybe you don't want to get off that pillow.
Hope that never happens to me.
Yeah, but also, you know, again, like even something like this conversation, right? You can learn, and you can look back and go, now, what can I actually learn from that analogy or that story, or, you know, whatever Ice was sharing there? and I see so much of that coming through. One, there was this driver of, as you said, don't want to be at work. Like, am I doing enough? This was all kind of from a place of fear, as you kind of said, right? And it's very much got to a point where, for some guys, it happens in many different places. I see this, not necessarily rock bottom, but like something's got to get to a point where I'm almost broken, or there's a tipping point, right? And for you, there was clearly these shifts of, it's moved to a place of love. I love my life. I want to do things that excite me. I want to have interactions with people that, light me up. Yes, it's cool to have this success with the business, but as you said, when someone sends me a message about how they're in tears because they got one of my items, this is very much a different driver towards things that make you feel good, as opposed to what you don't want, fear, enough, having to prove people, whatever, right? Does that kind of sound accurate for you?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I feel like, because there's all these different types of motivations that you talked about, like fear and stuff like that. And I've been through that. Like, I didn't want to work for anyone else. I was scared of failing. I was scared of being outworked. And that sort of coming from a sports background and coming from a small town and stuff like that. But then, like, once you get to this other side and you realize that, like, your business grows, it sounds counterproductive, but if you teach other people how to run a clothing brand, like, your business just grows with it. And then you get that endorphin feeling of someone, like you said, sending you a message of crying or saying, thank you, you've helped my business grow, even though you're in the same industry as me, and in sports should be considered competition. Then you just see seeing your thing grow. So you start to gravitate towards those types of behaviors and those types of feelings a lot more. And it's, like I said, it sounds counterproductive, but it just works. It just works. So I'm just going towards what's working at the moment. And for me, that's it.
Yeah, but I think that speaks to so much. You're going towards what's working as opposed to trying to avoid what's not working.
100%.
Those are two very, very different things, and they will result in very different things, and potentially, as you said, a very heavier head on the pillow.
And it's a quicker way to learn. So if you looked at two businesses and that one failed, like, you can learn a lot of failures. Like, you'd have to go in and dissect and, like, the reason why this wasn't working because A, B, C, D, E, F, G, narrow it down to maybe D, E, F are working, narrow it down like that. But then if you went to a company and knew what was working, you see their daily habits and their workflow and stuff like that, you're like, oh shit, that's what's working, and let's just copy that. So even though you're still learning exactly the same, but there's a quick way to learn, and you learn by doing off people that are doing things right. Like, you can learn of people doing things wrong, and one of Warren Buffett's failures are you learn from mistakes, but they don't have to always be your own mistakes. That's very, very true. Like, obviously, like, killing someone and someone going to jail, this is very extreme. Like, not to do that. But when you start to go in this type of world of business, find the people that are working and humming along and being very efficient and getting success, you go, fuck, what are they doing? Let me copy them. Instead of going, that probably wasn't a good thing to do. I would have done it this way. Like, you're not an expert in that, so you don't know. Go to the experts and go copy them.
Yeah, very nice. Bro, well, look, I've got to bring in a bit of a question related to the show, and that is, this show is called Everyday Legends. And, I have my own reasonings and little ideas about all of that, but I want to ask you, when you hear that term legend used in reference to someone, what comes to mind?
Do you know what? The first thing that comes to my mind, there's this little guy in Bronte. So we've been doing these little runs around Bronte lately, and I don't know who he was. And I ran past him, and I was fucked. I was sucking him in, and he was going, like, he just gave me the shuckers. He's like, keep going, keep going, keep going. And it gave me motivation. And then I talked about him to someone else, one of my friends, Hoz, and he goes, oh, that thing.
This has happened once.
Yeah, once.
Right.
So he goes, bro, he does that run like every single day, and like he's in the water every single day. And after that, I went down to the water and I had a swim, and like he seemed so happy about life. And what he was doing was going for a run and going for a dip in the water. And I was like, and I remember thinking, I was like, fuck, he's a ledge. And all he did was give me a bit of motivation when I was struggling halfway up the hill, and he was just up early and he looked happy and looked like he was enjoying his life. And it's not too hard to go around Sydney and look in different cars and walk past people and their heads are down and doing this little thing. He took his time to acknowledge a stranger, which was me at the time, give him a bit of motivation. And when I looked at him when I was going for a swim and he was sort of drying himself off with the towel, fuck, he looked so happy, eh? And I was like, fuck, that's pretty cool. And I could give you a bunch of different answers, but for me, and that was the first thought that comes to my mind is,
I like it.
Yeah, you don't really have to overcomplicate. I could talk about some people that are fucking donating thousands of dollars towards a successful charity, but for me, it was sort of that simple.
Yeah.
It's almost like the pillow analogy. I can talk fucking complicated if I want, but these simple analogies are the ones that work the best. This guy doesn't know who the fuck I am, gave me a rap when I was tired, when I was struggling, and he was happy, and that was enough for me.
And, it would seem a safe assumption that that is a really nice window into how that dude chooses to live his life.
Yeah, and it's easy.
Right?
It's not like you have to make $1 million. He's going for a run and going for a swim. Like anyone can do that.
Yeah, and there's so much that we can enjoy in the day-to-day in the smallest moments, from his own experience of going for a run and getting in the water to how he can simply show up for someone else in a moment without the expectation of anything in return, right? He's just showing up to show up for you a little bit in that moment, which is really cool.
Yeah, when they're struggling.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Brother, well, look, that's essentially all we have time for today. So to finish us off, we've spoken a lot about your business and what's going on, some entrepreneurial, some heading towards that way. But for those listening at the moment, is there anything specific that you want to share in terms of what you're doing and where they can find you and perhaps how they can get involved?
Find me on Instagram at @IICE_. I run a podcast called The Ice Project. Pump out a fuckload of content. So
you do.
I'm starting to build a pretty good team around me, and there's going to be plenty more. I feel like I've got a lot to say, and I feel like I can help a lot of people. So hit me up on those platforms and show what I'm about.
Beautiful. And we will get all of the details in that up on the site. And then what about the brands, YKTR? Because I got listeners around. So I've bought some of your clothes, but I know I'm an easy delivery. So is there places that you don't deliver? If people want to jump on, and they're in the States, for example, or are there places that you can, or you don't, or you do deliver to?
Come follow me personally, and if you like what I do, you'll follow YKTR as well. So I don't want to turn this into a sales thing.
Not at all, but I'm happy to let people know, because you know what it's like. If they're like, I like the sound of this clothing brand, I want to try and find something, I want to make sure they can find it. So we'll put the links and stuff in. I just want to make sure that people can get what they want to get. Beautiful, brother.
Everywhere, mate. We ship everywhere. So we're worldwide, but that's all you need. Can recommend.
Ice, thank you for coming on. I know we've spoken a lot about the pillow and the sleep. Is there anything that you would like to leave the listeners with today?
I think we've left it all on the table, and I feel like
left it all on the pillow.
Yeah, I left it all on the pillow. I feel like I answered best in Q&A format, so should be plenty of golden nuggets in there within someone. And don't have to make life so complicated. Like I said, the thing that inspired me when you said everyday legend was a stranger saying hello to me, and maybe that you can be that person, and that can be you every single morning. So just go say hello to someone, go say hello to your barista when you're getting a coffee, and I don't know, it's kind of important. So start your day off like that.
Beautiful. I love it. Thanks for having us, bro.
Hi, brother. See you later.
You've been listening to the Everyday Legends podcast, the show dedicated to helping everyday men build legendary relationships with yourself, with your partners, and in your world. If you have got something from this podcast, please share it with someone that you think could benefit from it. And please visit your home for podcasts. Like us, subscribe to us, leave us a review. Your feedback is phenomenal in getting this in front of more eyes and ears. Until next time, I'm Mike Campbell, and remember to build that legendary integrity.